Greetings, fellow gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I'm Count Jackula.
And today we're going to be talking about No One Gets Out Alive, which is a recent Netflix original horror film that is also an adaptation of one of the books by the same guy who wrote the book The Ritual was based on, but it's directed by different people. Same studio, though. Which is
apparently they just bought the rights to a bunch of his books.
Yeah.
And then let their script writers and directors just go hog wild with the premise.
Absolutely. But the only reason why I even mention that is just to say we're not really going to talk about that because I've never read those books. I do not know how those books are compared to the movie. From what I hear, in both movies' cases, the books are completely different. So the basic fucking premise of the books is in the adaptation, but kind of the movie is way better. Yeah,
and
that's something I keep hearing.
Oh, actually, I shouldn't say that. That's a spoiler. But they have a couple of things in common.
Yeah, they do have some things in common. I have heard that the film adaptations are much better than the books from everyone I know who's both read and watched the movies. So there you go. But as a movie, No One Gets Out Alive is about a young immigrant woman who is basically trying to get her footing in America. And she's at a point where she's trying to get a fake ID so that she can get this one job offer that she's gotten as a result of her cousin set her up. Her cousin set her up with this job offer, but she needs an ID that says she's a U.S. citizen in order to do this. And in the meantime, she's having trouble like keeping a place to stay. Because I don't know if you know this, but in many places and in many states, people will often need to see your ID and like do background checks on you to have an apartment.
Yeah.
So she can't afford to do that. But thankfully she stumbles across, well, not thankfully, as the movie shows, she stumbles across an apartment complex that is for women only and is obviously kind of like a shelter for people in need. Now, unfortunately for her, a bunch of spooky shit happens in this apartment complex, and bad things happen, and as the title implies, the chances of living are very low. Yeah.
Now, easiest part to talk about first, get that out of the way, no animal death. No animal death. Unless you count... Actually, no, not even if you count that one moth, because it doesn't die.
Yeah. There's an undead moth in this movie. Like an actual moth that just flies about, and no matter how hard she tries to kill it, it don't die. Yeah. It's not even really a spoiler, because you see the moth come to life in like the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. It's like one of the first shots.
You know, but it's one of those cases where the moth is somewhat of a metaphor as well as a literal thing in the story. It like represents a certain thing that we'll get into when we get to the spoilers, but it is also a literal thing that she is dealing with in the here and now.
Yeah. All right, so I can't talk about the things I loved about the movie without getting into the spoilers, just to say that I did love the movie.
Yeah. I absolutely love the movie. This is a movie that if you're going to sit down, you're going to start watching it, and you're going to think that, like, okay, this is going to be another spooky ghost story, because there are ghosts, and they're creepy, but it's going to go all the way. Stick with it. Yeah. It's going to go in wild and crazy directions. There's a reason why I keep seeing people when reviewing this movie comparing it to things like Hellraiser. Like,
yes,
you know,
there. For instance, you can definitely see how at one point this could have very easily have been a Hellraiser story or script.
Oh yeah, it could have,
because there's like a box.
Yeah. There's this creepy box she keeps seeing in her dreams, and like I'm not gonna lie, when I was watching the movie, I was just like, man, if this movie were made in the '90s, this would have been a really shitty Harvey Weinstein.
Really shitty Harvey Weinstein fucking Hellraiser sequel.
Exactly.
And they'd have fucked it
all. Oh yeah, they would have totally screwed it up. Now that being said, the movie is great, and they do what they do really well, and it is not Hellraiser. It just has a lot of Hellraiser elements that are awesome.
Yeah, like, well, one of the things that it has in common with Hellraiser is this movie has a lot of Aztec imagery.
It does,
and the idea of the Cenobites came from when Clive Barker was thinking about Xipe-Totec.
No, yeah.
You know, the concept of the flayed god.
Oh yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah,
absolutely. What I do like about this movie is something I know in comparison to the books is that one of the big changes they make is the whole immigrant stuff. In the book, as far as I can tell, just from reading the synopsis on Wikipedia, she is not an immigrant in that story, and I really like that change for the movie's sake.
Yeah, it makes it puts her in a situation where dumb things a person might do, she tries and fails to do for reasons tied into being an illegal immigrant in America.
Oh, absolutely. And it also creates this this theme of being trapped, because there's certain things that you would normally do if you were just a citizen of the country and weird things are happening, she can't do. She can't just easily up and move to like a new apartment complex for the reasons we stated earlier in this vlog.
Yeah.
You know,
it's also in the middle of winter, so it's like in the middle of winter in like fucking Chicago. No, Cleveland. It's Cleveland. And it's basically, if I stay outside, I'm gonna fucking freeze to death. Absolutely.
And there are also motels and hotels and stuff like that. But they often, if you're gonna stay there longer than a couple weeks, they'll often want to see your ID too and shit like that.
Yeah, so like when we went to LA, they wanted to see our ID before we even checked in.
Exactly.
You know?
So she's stuck in a situation where once the weird shit starts happening and it's clear her life's in danger, she can't just leave.
Yeah.
And this is made harder by the fact that actually like affording anything else is a big issue too, because she can only take jobs where they pay in cash.
In cash, yeah.
And jobs where they pay in cash under the table very rarely pay like more than like right below minimum
wage.
Yeah,
basically.
right below minimum wage, like that, or lower. You know?
Yeah, so she clearly is like working in a sweatshop. And they actually talk about the fact that the owners of the sweatshops never get arrested.
Yeah.
And that's why this keeps happening.
Oh, yeah. You
know, because it's one of those weird things where it's like, it's illegal to be an undocumented worker, but it's not illegal to hire undocumented work.
Fair point, yeah.
I mean, like, I lived next to one of those fucking places for a while, and I did not look, all I'm saying is that he did not have a hard top. I lived on the second floor, and sometimes things fall off a fucking roof.
Oh, okay, all right, I get it.
Yeah, never felt bad about it, never.
So this is from a first-time feature director, Santiago Menghini, I think is his name. If I mispronounce that, I sincerely apologize. Sometimes we get the filmmakers commenting below, and if you happen to actually see this vlog, Santiago, feel free to correct me in the pronunciation below.
Oh, please.
Absolutely. And looking at his IMDb, he's mainly done shorts and produced a couple of features, but this is the first time of him directing a movie himself.
Yeah, it's really good.
And he does a great job. Like this, if you had told me this was made by someone and it's their fifth film, I would have believed you. You know?
Yeah, like easily.
Because like everything he does really well. He's very subtle with a whole bunch of stuff. Like you'll have like something a little small happen in the background that ends up becoming an important plot point later on, and he frames it in such a way that you notice it, but it's not like directly diverting your attention from everything else. And he's also got like, there's a lot of really stylish things he does, especially towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And he also like, he films it very subdued in like the first half of the movie, and then towards the second half of the movie, it's like the camera lets loose.
Yeah, the camera starts going a little crazier, you know, because in the beginning it's very simple, like static shot, reverse shot,
absolutely,
kind of stuff. But as the creepiness comes in, like the camera starts moving around the house, it starts going behind furniture, it starts doing things showing you things from an angle that is not technically possible.
And it's also like he was so good with the creepiness in this movie, because there There's like many extended shots in this movie of like creepy ghost people just kind of in the backgrounds of things.
Yes.
And like, I'm not gonna lie, when I finished this movie, even though it goes way crazy in the last act, some of those creepy ghost people from the beginning of the movie were the things I was thinking about, and I had to turn the lights on and stuff.
Well, yeah, because it's one of those movies that does that thing where the ghosts are extremely shadowy.
Yeah.
So you're always kind of... The main reason you know they're there is because you know that you're watching a horror movie. Yeah, if it had been in any other context, you'd have been like, wait, is that a person back there?
Yeah.
You know?
like you'll see like a silhouette or something like that and like the glint in their eye, and that's all you get, you know? You know, and sometimes they're static and sometimes they're doing shit.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of what the guy did in... it was David Bruckner who did the fucking... The creature from fucking God.
The Ritual?
Not The Ritual.
Because he did direct The Ritual.
Yeah. Oh, David Bruckner did direct The Ritual? Oh, okay.
He did.
That's funny. That's funny, because I was actually thinking of the other one that we reviewed last week.
Oh, The Night House.
The Night House. Yeah.
It all comes together.
It all comes together, you know? Damn.
Yeah. I actually had forgotten that when we were reviewing The Lighthouse. Otherwise, I would have mentioned it. Or The Night House. The Night House. Lighthouse is a completely different movie.
Yeah. Well, I can see the difference between Santiago, right?
Yeah, Santiago.
Yeah, between Santiago and Bruckner here, because Bruckner is really good at, in the beginning, you get nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, all right, I know this is supposed to be a supernatural story, but is it going to be normal? You know it's going to be a horror movie, but is it going to be supernatural or is it going to be more psychological?
Yeah.
And he plays with you basically until the last minute when he usually reveals, in fact, it's supernatural.
Yeah.
You know, Santiago does something a little bit different because he lets you in on the fact that something supernatural is happening much sooner.
It's almost like you're slowly descending into the supernatural world the more the movie goes on.
Yeah,
right?
but it's always there.
Yeah.
You know,
there's almost like shades of like a Guillermo del Toro in it a little bit, especially with the butterfly stuff. I was thinking, you know.
Yeah, well, it's like it's interesting that like the way that they dealt with the normal world was to make the camera itself boring.
Yeah.
You know, when we get
it's really boring, like boringly shot. Like, and I mean this in the greatest way because it's intentional. Like, this person lives a very rough and shitty life at the beginning because they are an immigrant that only have so many options.
Like the shots are very standard and repetitive because that's how it's supposed to feel.
But as more spooky shit happens, as they descend, for lack of a better way of putting it, into the supernatural world, the camera opens up, the lighting gets more interesting, everything gets more weird.
Yeah, it becomes a little bit more of a haunted house ride.
Exactly, yeah. That's another thing I want to say about this movie. I love the sets in this movie. The actual apartment complex in this has such a character to it, to where if I were to see its silhouette or see an interior of it, I would know exactly which movie it was from.
Yes.
You know?
Oh yeah.
You know, like it has its own identity, and I really dug that.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like I'm not sure how many characters are in it, but it's almost like a character in and of itself in this story, the apartment complex.
Oh, definitely. Like every good haunted house movie is.
Yeah, absolutely. I also like that it also goes into how immigrants are exploited by people. We talked about that a little earlier with the sweatshop owner guy, but also in the apartment complex owner, the guy who actually runs the apartment complex. Which, first off, that's your big red flag to begin with. Is that if you're a guy who's asking for only women tenants and you're running the shelter.
Yeah. The immediate red flag.
Like, the thing is that you might be a good guy and be doing it out of the goodness of your heart, and you might be okay, but your initial thought when you see him is like, oh shit, that's not good.
Ooh,
that's not a good sign.
That's a raping face.
That's not a good sign. You know, but also the way that he kind of exploits his tenants, in little things make sure you give me the first month's rent up front, knowing full well that the tenants that he has there, probably that's all the money they have, so there's nowhere else for them to go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and also he and the hotel become this metaphor for America.
Yeah, very much so.
You know?
Very much so. Again, I love all the changes they make to this based on what I was reading about the novel, because it really gives it its own like little identity, and I really dug like all the themes it added. And stuff
turns
like
out
that.
the real trap was capitalism.
Yes, a little bit of that. A little bit of that. I also, the guy who plays the owner, that dude, the guy who plays Red, I think the character's name.
Everyone was great in this movie.
Everyone was great too. But there was something about that guy every time he was on screen where he's like the perfect, okay, there's something unsettling about you, but there's also something about you that makes me want to believe that you're not a bad guy, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You're
like, how bad is this guy? Is he bad or is he just weird?
Yeah.
You know?
You know, he like that's just perfect casting there. And the girl who plays the main character is just great. You know, like she's one of those like kind of like leading ladies in a horror movie that like when she gets scared, you get scared, you know.
Yeah. Another thing that's very important is the movie definitely very strongly has her point of view.
Yeah,
because you do not become privy to anything that she doesn't know.
Yeah, for the most part, with the single exception being an intro we have at the beginning.
Yeah,
but that doesn't really.
That's more setup.
Yeah, it's all set up. Once you get past the setup and you're following her, it's all her perspective.
Yeah, because when she there are these other two tenants that come to the hotel, these two Romanian girls, and it's strongly implied that they're prostitutes.
Yeah,
but she doesn't know that whether that's the case. She thinks it is.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know, so we don't know. It's never confirmed.
That actually leads me to another thing I really like about this movie. It turns out there's a lot I can talk about before spoilers, which is not always the case.
No, not always.
One thing I also really like about this movie is that this movie definitely respects you as a viewer to be able to piece things together. It gives you all the information you need.
All the information's there. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
But it does expect you to do basic plot algebra.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily have that like moment where someone just sits down and just lays out the entire plot for you.
No.
Like there are certain speeches, like moments where characters talk about their past and it kind of enlightens things.
Yeah.
But for the most part, there's a lot in this movie that's left for you to kind of like figure out or interpret and stuff like that. Like for example, the fact that those two are prostitutes is never stated, but you can tell based on what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you can piece it together.
Like it did also remind me of Hellraiser in that, because Clive Barker was very tricky. Got really tricky in Hellraiser because he's like, okay, I gotta explain these fucking Cenobites. So how do I do that? Okay, I'll have the skinless guy tell you. So you're sitting there going,
what the fuck?
Okay, he's telling me about supernatural things and something called the Cenobites and a bot. Okay, whatever, bro. You know, but you're just so like, you're transfixed already because there is a skinless guy talking to you. And while this movie didn't do a big exposition dump,
no,
because it saved all of its goodies for the end.
Absolutely, and there are moments where there's moments of exposition, but it's done really well. But like, I just both this and The Night House I appreciated for just respecting their audience.
Oh yeah, definitely. I also liked.
Oh no! Actually, I think I'm gonna cut that out and put that into the spoiler section.
Oh okay,
just because that's actually
that is a spoiler.
That is a spoiler. Yeah. So anyway, we've reached the point where we're starting to dip into the spoilers, so we're going to move on to the spoilers soon. No One Gets Out Alive is currently available on Netflix. It is a Netflix original or a Netflix exclusive or whatever they're calling them right now. So if you want to watch it, at least here in America, you're going to have to subscribe to Netflix and watch it there. Unfortunately, Netflix has not been doing the thing that Shudder's been doing, in which they are actually putting their movies onto home video, so that might be the only way you can watch it for the time being, unless you just decide to do other methods, which is up to you.
Yeah, we'll leave that to you.
We'll leave that to you. And with that said, let us move on to the spoilers.
Okay, so spoiler number one, there is a monster.
Yeah. there's 100% a monster. You get a good ass look at this monster. You will see it. It'll be in full view, and I would describe it for you, but I'm not sure how.
No, it's the kind of creature that only an artist can create.
Yeah, it's got like elements of butterflies, because over the course of the story it becomes very clear that the butterfly that's flying around and all the butterflies she's seeing, like, they're all connected to the creature that is like beckoning her the entire story.
Yeah, and it turns out it's like an Aztec god called Iztacapacl?
Something like that.
Something like that, but it translates as the obsidian butterfly.
Yeah. The obsidian butterfly, or the clawed butterfly, from what I could find on Wikipedia. So that apparently that goddess lives inside this box, this big stone box.
Yeah.
And essentially, over the course of the story, you find out that it was dug up by the hotel owner's parents, and they had been using it by sacrificing women to it periodically to essentially gain immortality,
essentially.
You know,
but you have to keep sacrificing people.
You have to keep doing it. You have to keep doing it. But it comes with these caveats, as you find out over the course of the story, because obviously the hotel owner's parents are not alive when the story begins, and that's because people turn on each other, and
it doesn't make you invulnerable.
And the box chooses the people that are like who do the sacrificing. Like, there's like a person who's the chosen executioner.
Yeah.
And sometimes the box chooses someone else. You know.
Yeah. Sometimes the obsidian butterfly goes like, oh, now that looks like a very accessible psychopath right over there.
Yeah.
Do that one.
We'll go with them. So and so this thing, you get to watch as this thing appears at the end of the movie, when it turns out that everything that's been going on throughout this story is that it's all building up to her being sacrificed to the creature. Basically, everything up until this point, all the weirdness she's been suffering has either been a result of her encountering the ghosts of the creature's victims, or it's part of the ritual. You know, like, there's a point in which they chug like alcohol down her throat because it's part of the ritual.
Part of the ritual, yeah.
You know. They put a hand mark on her door because it's part of the ritual. She's marked now.
Yeah. It's basically you mark them, and then 3 days later you must do this.
This creepy
takes a while.
This creepy, gigantic old guy she keeps seeing around the apartment complex, who keeps chanting in tongues. Well, it turns out that's the brother of the owner, and he's the guy who's the current chosen, like, executioner, so to speak.
Yeah.
And he's been chanting the ritual chants, and he's been doing it at the 3 girls that are currently living in the apartment complex. Now, at first you think there are other girls, but it turns out over the course of the story that the other girls she encounters are ghosts.
Yeah,
like Freya.
They're either ghosts, or they were killed very early on in the movie.
Well, because when I first watched it, I thought Freya, the character, who's a character that she encounters very early on in the story, and the apartment complex owner basically tells her that, like, oh yeah, that's Freya. She's the only other one who lives here, and she doesn't speak English good. And then she encounters Freya, and Freya speaks English very well, and tells her that the hotel owner, or the apartment owner, is full of shit. Now, when I first watched it, I thought that, like, okay, over the course of the story, Freya is sacrificed, and she hears the sacrifices, and then she's dead, and then the ghost starts appearing to her.
Right.
What I realized rewatching the movie the second time with you is that Freya's dead at the beginning. She's seeing Freya's ghost immediately.
Oh, okay. Well, what's the tip-off?
The tip-off is when Freya is crying to Mary.
Oh,
the hotel owner's...
Oh, right.
The hotel owner's mother, who we know has long been dead.
Yeah, so that happened like ages ago.
She was one of Mary's victims.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, I had not put that together the first time I watched it, because I was operating when I first watched the movie under the belief that she was alive at the beginning, and she's like sacrificed as the story goes on, which is why she keeps hearing her crying all over the.
So motherfucker just lied to her.
Yeah, just flat out lied. When she moved into that apartment, she was the only one there.
Got it.
You know, and you know that's doubly true because as the story goes on, they only refer to the 3 girls. You know, and there's one
her
point,
and the 2 Romanian girls.
There's one point in which they say Freya moved out, right? But not true.
Well, like how to put it.
It's like they clearly,
they clearly know that people who come here will see the ghosts.
Yeah. This is like the immigrant roach motel for women, basically.
Yeah.
You check in, but you don't check out.
Woo.
Now I'll tell you the next spoiler that I got here. This is a big one. The title of the movie is a fucking lie. Because I'm telling you right now, our Scream Queen girl, our main girl, our final girl is a final girl.
Yeah.
But it does have some dark twist to that I'm not going to spoil just yet.
Yeah, well, it's technically true because it's like no one gets out alive.
Yeah.
Well, what happens if you just don't get out?
Okay, fair.
You know, what happens if you don't get out, man? Maybe you get to live then.
Just when you think you're out, they pull you back
in, you know? Actually, probably the best payoff of the movie is the obsidian butterfly itself.
Oh, God, just seeing that thing.
What the fuck?
When you see the box open and there's just long tunnel.
Yeah,
you see it crawling out of the tunnel and then, like, standing up and you're like, what the fuck is that?
It's like a huge caterpillar Virgin of Guadalupe with fucking arms for legs and a giant vagina mouth.
Yeah.
What the
a vagina mouth that looks like one of the aliens' mouths.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Like if the aliens in Alien were like giant dicks, this was like a monstrous clit. Like
yeah. Well, it was like, and much like the monster in The Ritual, you're like, I don't know who's designing these things, but holy crap, are they good?
Well, one thing I like about it that's very similar to the design in The Ritual, and I actually think that's because same production company, so most likely same special effects team, is my guess. Is the multiple arms.
Yeah.
You know, like the small arms that look human-like, and then the big monstrous arms.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah, the thing has like multiple arms as well as like the caterpillar end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's also some really cool plot twists that happen over the course of the story that definitely fall within the spoiler territory. One being, Jack was actually wanted to talk about this in the non-spoiler section, but I decided to cut it out because it was a spoiler. But there's a point in which the main character befriends another immigrant girl, and she's trying to help her get her ID because she knows a guy.
Right.
You know, and so she's like, hey, it was originally 1,000, it's now going to have to be 3,000. So now the main character has to scramble and make that 3,000 because she just had to pay a full month's rent up front at this apartment.
Yeah, and she's trying to get out of this apartment right now because,
Yeah.
You know?
And eventually the friend's like, how about you give me what you got, I'll pay the rest, and you pay me back later with that new fancy job you get, you know?
Right.
And so she gives her the money, and then the next day, the friend is nowhere to be seen. She does not show up for work. She does not answer her calls. She's just straight up ghosted.
Yeah.
In a movie in which she is being haunted by ghosts, which is just cold.
Yeah.
You know?
Cold-blooded.
She gets ghosted in multiple different ways.
Yeah. And you never really find out why that happened.
That's
what.
Yeah.
You're pretty sure she just ran off with the money?
That's an aspect that I love because they could have easily have told us, but I like them not telling us because it puts you in the situation.
Puts you in her shoes, yeah.
Where you're sitting there going like, did she just take the money and run? Was she caught and deported? Like what?
Yeah. Was she mugged and killed?
Yeah. Did something happen? And you don't get an answer because she doesn't get an answer. And I really loved that because because whether or not, if you go with the interpretation that she took the money and run, which is the one I went with, it's the one that I choose to believe. It kind of like shows you how the system will turn people against each other.
Oh yeah.
In this way because, like, much like both characters need that money, right?
Yep.
For their own reasons, so that they can get by because both of them are working this shitty job. And the easiest way for her to get that money was to just take it from a friend and fuck off, you know?
Yep.
You know, she certainly wasn't going to get that money from working at the sweatshop because sweatshop owner's a piece of shit.
Yep.
You know? And I like that. I like that. I really did like that plot twist because I was not expecting her to just ghost on her like that.
Yeah, me neither.
Especially since
I was actually thinking that was a possibility when it happened.
There you go.
You know, I was like, wait a minute, she could have just run off with the money. Where is she?
I think I got tricked. And here's why I got tricked. Is because the actress who plays the immigrant friend,
super nice.
She just comes across like the friendliest person on the face of the planet, and I bought it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
I bought it.
Yeah, you're like, oh shit, I fell for it.
Yeah, I totally fell for it. Absolutely, I did. I would have been that sucker.
Oh,
I would have been her.
Yeah, most likely.
Like shit, $3,000 down the drain.
All done. Oh well. Ugh.
You know, but what I also love about that plot twist is that it makes her even more trapped by the end of it. You know?
Yeah. Now where's she gonna go?
Yeah. Now she can't even leave with the money she got from her last paycheck. You know.
Yeah.
And of course, because she keeps going to her boss and asking for like advances, or asking for more time, or asking for a better job, or asking where her friend who ghosted her is because she's a coworker. The boss eventually fires her. So
yeah,
at that point, she doesn't even have that avenue. So you're just watching as she's cut off and eventually just kind of trapped in this house. And I can imagine, you remove all the supernatural elements, I imagine there are plenty of immigrants who came to America and have the same problem.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's also kind of like a metaphor for the immigrant landlord.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because by the end of it, she becomes the executioner.
Yeah.
She becomes the monster's chosen one.
That it is a great fucking like watching this character go from who she is at the beginning of the story to where she is at the end of the story, when everyone has betrayed her, with the exception of her cousin. Her cousin's a great guy.
Her cousin tries to save her.
He has the most heartbreaking death in this entire goddamn movie.
Yeah.
When her cousin shows up and tries to save her from the two dudes.
Yeah. They're only like 2 or 3 on-screen deaths. There's only one on-screen death there, and the other is you watch it happen, but it's only what she can see.
Well, there actually is quite a few on-screen deaths, because you have the girl who falls, splat, and you see her go splat.
God, that's brutal. Yeah.
You watch as one brother gets his face caved in with the ancient weapon that she grabs.
Oh, that's right. There's collection. The guy she kills.
Yeah, she's the guy she kills. And you got the brother who gets, his just desserts.
His just desserts, yeah.
Well, technically, the creature gets her just desserts.
Yeah, creature eats his head off with its vagina mouth.
Yeah.
You know.
Chomp. And she actually sacrifices the brother as the ultimate comeuppance for him. So you get to watch him get his just desserts.
Yeah.
Especially because this is the brother, the owner guy who you've seen throughout the entire movie. The other brothers have been kind of aloof, but this brother you've seen from the beginning, and you've watched as he's manipulated her, as he's tricked her.
Yeah.
And as he even had a point in which he had a choice where he could have
let her go.
He could have been the better guy, but he didn't.
Yeah. And that's what I meant earlier by it's the metaphor.
Yeah.
You know, that guy's as good as it's gonna get for you.
Yep.
It's that, or the guy who is definitively and without apology exploiting you for his own gain.
You know, and then you watch him get his head eaten by the monster that was going to eat her head.
Yep.
Now, this actually brings me up something. We were actually looking it up on Wikipedia, and there was an entry in Wikipedia for this movie that described an event that I don't think actually took place, or at least their interpretation of it didn't match my interpretation of it.
Yeah, because one aspect of the movie that we haven't mentioned yet is that she's also haunted by memories of her mom.
And the creature is using these memories to try to lure her to get her to stay.
Yeah, which is very clearly what it does.
Exactly. And as shown by the opening scene of the movie, in which we watch someone who's in the middle of one of those dreams, but you don't know it's one of those dreams until you've seen the rest of the movie.
You see the rest of the movie, yeah.
You know, when we were watching it the second time, I'm like, oh shit, that's what's happening in this opening scene. She's in one of those dreams, and she's trying to contact her dad. You know,
right?
You know,
right? Because like the main character keeps having these dreams where the box appears.
Yeah.
And then like a pair of hands come out of it. Yep. You know.
And so the creature keeps using her mom in her dreams, who she obviously misses and wants to be with, to try to get her to stay and be there, and eventually tries to do it while the ritual is taking place.
Yeah.
You know, so it's gonna like eat her face or whatever. But she eventually like fights back. And she basically smothers her mother in her dream. The mother who is not really her mother.
Not really her mom.
It's the creature. And breaks free from the trance, and you know, then the creature kind of scurries away, and she escapes the raft. And at that point, she just ends up getting chosen as the new sacrificer.
Priest,
you know. And on Wikipedia, someone interpreted it as, well, oh, and this scene reveals that she killed her mom and then took her money that she was using to try to help her mom to move to America. Except, I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
I didn't interpret it that way.
Maybe, but like...
Because that
wasn't what I read.
That part of the dream was clearly not, like... what happened.
Yeah. Because she's fucking smothering her mom while her mother is trying to strangle her to death.
Yeah.
Because it's actually the monster.
Yeah, I don't think that interpretation is accurate.
I don't think so either.
I did not get that. What I got was that she realized it's not her mom, and she realized that she's in the trance, and then breaks out of the trance by fighting her mom. And also, there is not a single line or implication in this movie that was what she did with the money. I mean, you could guess that, I suppose, but I don't think.
But yeah, but it's not. The movie's not really leading you in that direction.
The dream certainly didn't reveal that.
No, not at all. And given that is a very standard plot twist, everyone knows how to reveal that at this point.
My interpretation of why she escaped was basically because she didn't give in to the dream.
Yeah.
Is what I took from it.
Yeah. She's like, you're not my mother, fuck you. I'm gonna kill you.
You know.
But you can't kill me. Too bad. But I like your spirit.
Yeah.
Here.
You still don't get to leave. Now you're gonna be.
But did you get to live?
I do love the scene in which they show that they actually show you, because up until this point in the movie, you haven't really seen what it is they truly grant the people who do the sacrificing, what the creature grants, until you see she gets her leg busted by trying to fight back against these two guys, and the leg just flat out heals and she can walk normally.
Yep.
You know, so okay, so it is 100%, it will heal anything.
Yeah.
You know, it'll just fix it like that, you know? So you can understand why it would be enticing, why it would be everyone's precious, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, man. This movie is rad. It's a 90-minute movie, but it feels like you watched a really awesome miniseries, because it condenses so much stuff into that 90 minutes.
Yes.
Without feeling rushed or too fast. It's perfectly economical.
Yeah, there's a lot of economy of storytelling here.
You know, absolutely.
It is that kind of economy of storytelling that we had kind of been missing for a very long time.
Oh yeah.
You know, that is becoming more common, particularly in horror movies.
Oh yeah.
You know, I like these independent, a lot of these independent Netflix movies, because they don't try to explain how ghosts can hear you. You know?
Yeah. Well, they're not the Quarantine.
Oh God!
When you compare Quarantine to the movie it's remaking, Wreck. I don't know if you guys remember those movies, but if you remember Quarantine and Wreck, Quarantine was an American remake of Wreck, which was a Spanish film. And while I enjoy both movies to a certain extent, one thing I hate about Quarantine in comparison to Wreck is that Quarantine feels the need to explain everything, whereas Wreck trusted you as the viewer to put things together.
Yeah. And considering that the big twist at the end of Wreck is counting on you putting the pieces together wrong.
Yeah.
Fucking deciding, we're just gonna over-explain it and write ourselves into a fucking corner so that the twist doesn't work anymore.
It's often a big problem with American films that they just get way too bogged down in the explainies.
Oh,
and I thought this
movie doesn't do that.
This movie is great because it explains shit mostly by showing you instead of telling you. Like little things like her exploring that study room they had that people aren't supposed to go into, and seeing all the stuff, all the books about Aztec rituals, and seeing all the graphics that depict how the rituals took place, or putting on the headphones and listening to the tape of the guy talking about the rituals and stuff like that. And these are all little snippets you're getting. You're not quite not each individually are weird little things on their own, but when you put them all together and you piece it all together, you kind of get an idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
So that later in the movie, when you see someone shove alcohol down her throat, you're like, oh shit, I remember in the picture they were doing that in one of the pictures.
Yeah.
You know. And I just really loved the way they did it. I thought like this is just a really well done movie. And I'm not seeing a lot of people talk about it, so
very surprised.
Like I saw a couple reviews from people I know on Twitter, one of which referred to it as very Hellraiser, which was what piqued my interest.
Right.
Which I was just like, oh shit, it's kind of like Hellraiser. I gotta check it out.
Yeah, I gotta check it out.
I gotta check it out. You know, you know what I want?
What?
I want a sequel to this in which she crawls into the box.
Sorry. Well, actually, the funny thing, the end of this movie actually kind of, it has exactly what I felt like the adaptation of the Midnight Meat Train needed, which was it needed a thing like that to show
at
up.
The very end. Yeah,
and then you'd been like, what the fuck?
That would have been cool.
You know, because it's the climax of the original story.
Absolutely.
You know, big godlike monster thing just fucking shows up and talks to the guy.
So because I haven't seen many people talk about it, that's why I really, really wanted to vlog that this week and tell all of you about it. And hopefully all of you, my fellow Gorehounds, will go and spread the word and check out this movie for yourselves, and hopefully it'll get more love because I think it's really good. It also didn't necessarily get many good reviews from the normal critics, so horror people need to come and represent.
Step up.
We need to come and represent.
This movie was great. I love. Oh yeah, just one other thing. Last thing I wanted to point out.
Yeah.
The axe.
Oh,
the fucking Aztec axe that gets wielded at the end
like
of
the axe sword thing.
Yeah. I'm like, oh man, that looks so cool.
I love the detail that the little rocks that were in it get like embedded in their faces. And
right, because it's made of obsidian, you know, and so it, like they like occasionally break off because it's a little brittle.
I do love that the movie was not afraid to get bloody at the end. It's not necessarily gory, but there's a lot of bloodshed towards the end. Like even some of the off-screen kills, like when the cousin dies and you see the pool of blood under the door.
And that tooth.
And that
fucking
tooth.
Roll. Oh.
Yeah, I felt that. Ow.
Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah. Sound guy did a great. Sound person did a great job on that one.
Oh yeah. That actually reminds me. I mentioned earlier about how like the director would have like little details that happen in the background and they become important plot points later, but they don't draw too much attention to them, but you notice them as the movie goes on. One great example being a scene in which she puts her coat down just like because she walked inside and she puts the coat down on this very specific spot. And then later on in the movie, when the cousin's showing up and they're trying to tell him that no one that like that lives there, and he sees the coat and he's just like, I gave her that coat. That's my wife's coat that I gave her. So she's definitely here. And he would not have seen it had she put it on the normal coat rack. Yeah, that's on the other side of the door. And so like the way like little moments like that are constructed just feel like. They feel like master filmmaking because it's very simple and it sounds dumb when I say it, but like rewatching it twice made me really appreciate those details. So
yeah, having seen it only once, everything held together perfectly.
Absolutely, you know. So I guess with all that said, it is like I said available on Netflix. So go watch it on Netflix and where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Well, you can find me on twitch.tv/count_Jackula.
There you go.
Every Thursday and Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And on 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
We are doing live plays of the RPG Babylon Rising. If you want to come and watch us do that, the RPG of Magic, Monsters, and Mayhem.
Yeah, also, for all you Gorehounds out there that don't follow Jackula's stream and stuff like that, this is the tabletop RPG that he's developing. So, this is Jack's work, as well as, the other people that work on it. So.
Yeah, you can also follow me on Twitter at Counting Jack, and you can also follow me on Instagram at Satanic Jackula. And with that said, what about you?
Y'all know me, I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on Twitter, on Twitch, on Instagram and Facebook. Just look up the Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema and I'll be there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so that you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you would like to help out either of us more directly, then be sure to check out our Patreon pages. And remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way. And what would be a good hashtag for people who made it this far into the video to include below?
Virgin Mary Caterpillar.
All right. If you made it this far into the vlog, then I implore you to comment below hashtag
Virgin Mary Caterpillar.
I totally forgot what it was when I was about to say it, so I had Jack say it. Virgin Mary Caterpillar. Hashtag Virgin Mary Caterpillar, so that I know, so that Jack knows, so that the world knows. You watch this vlog all the way through. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, we're actually just going to record one more vlog tonight and save our next vlog for when Halloween Kills comes out this weekend.
Yes.
So you all can look forward to that. And I guess with that said, peace out. And I'll catch you all later.
Yeah, Virgin Mary Caterpillar.
Yeah, Virgin Mary Caterpillar. Yeah, it's got a ring to it.
Yeah.